What should you blog about, and how do you choose a blog that will make you money? If you're stuck between multiple ideas and you're not sure what to start a blog about, maybe you haven't even chosen a name yet, this video will fix that. And my goal by the end of this video is that you leave here knowing exactly what type of blog you're going to start and what you're going to blog about. And if you're new around here, I'm Blogging Brandy, and welcome to day 2 of my Get Started 7-day blogging challenge. That by the end of this week, in these 7 episodes, you're going to have a real live blog as well as your first post published, even if you're starting at 0. So if you miss any episodes, don't you worry. I've got an entire playlist with all of the episodes that you might have missed. You can watch in the description below this video. I'll put a link to that as well as on my website, borntoblogclub.com. And there's a little checklist that you can download. And I won't even say that you have to choose a niche, because I have multiple blogs, multiple niches, but when I started out as Blogging Brandy, and then it developed into all these little niche blogs. You can blog about anything, and I always say, if you're not sure what to get started, blog about yourself, start blogging about you, your lifestyle, and then those little niches will start to come out. I'm the perfect example of that because Blogging Brandy, lifestyle blogger here, started blogging about my own life, my RV life, my cats, my dogs, and all of the things, and that's how I got started with all these little niche blogs. So started out with Blogging Brandy, and then I've created over a dozen blogs about all the things in my life. My life is a blog. I talk about my RV life over at Arversity, my dogs at Birdie's Doghouse, my cat at Catitude Chaos. I have a money blog, Fancy Financials. Maps and Miles is my travel blog. Redirected Energy is my religious blog. RVing for Bosses is my digital nomad making money while RVing blog. It's kind of a spinoff of Arversity. And then I have a business and branding blog called Black Boss, Brand Like a Boss. MBA Exchange is my reselling blog. I have a sober living blog called The Drops of Beat. And then Born to Blog Club is what you're watching, and it's all about blogging. Everything you ever wanted to know about getting started blogging, Born to Blog Club. Started out with Blogging Brandy, and then I got all these niche blogs, and these are my dirty notes. Sometimes you have to remember all the blogs that you've written and wrote and where to go. And the other thing I'll say about these is not all of these are 100%, I don't want to say they're not monetized. They're all monetized. Not all of them are things that I actively post on all the time. So some of them are just sitting there, and they're kind of like hobby blogs. So your blog doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be done. And it is great if you can clarify who you're talking to and you already have a niche picked out, but if you don't, that's no reason to pout or not get started blogging. Because you might not know about this, but you'll learn. A little pro tip is if you want to get started blogging, the first thing that you should do is get your blog up and out there. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be done. Because there's this thing called a sandbox period, that your blog is new, and Google and the internet is like, oh, it's new, like I don't know about that thing. And so you want that thing out there, living and breathing, so that these search engines can figure out that you exist. And eventually, when you start posting your content, like by the end of this week, they're going to start noticing who you are. And it's going to take a little time before they send people to your blog. I'm going to tell you some ways to speed that up, but I'm just letting you know that there's this little period that you get your blog out there, and it has to wait and sit, and you gotta water it, and eventually those little seeds will grow. How are you gonna perfect something if you haven't created it yet? How are you gonna make something better and improve upon it if there's nothing to improve upon? Perfection is the enemy of done. You cannot perfect on something that you haven't gotten done. And if you're trying to be perfect, you're probably never going to get it done. But if it's done, then you can come back and you can look at it and you can say, oh, let me add some color to this painting, or put something on that wall, or change the thumbnails, or that doesn't look right on my computer versus my phone. And you won't know these things until you put something out there and you see what happens, what it looks like. You have to test, fail, or succeed, learn, grow, repeat. If you go over to the borntoblogclub.com, you'll notice that everything that I've put together over there is just kind of like black and white. It can be anything that you want it to be, but I wanted it to be so simple and so boring. No one could say they didn't know how to start a blog or that they couldn't get started blogging, because I have started a successful business blog about blogging with the most boring blog as far as aesthetic. So it's not beautiful, but it's got all the basics that you need to know. And if you're trying to decide on what type of blog should I start, maybe these blogs and these niches are not your cup of tea. I've got a whole list over at the Born to Blog Club where I share all the different types of blogs that you can start and then some. Business blog, personal blog, travel blog, fashion blog, fitness, food, lifestyle blog, affiliate blog, finance blog, any kind of niche blog, parenting, do it yourself, news, sports, gaming, a design blog, music blog, pets, politics, a blogging blog. That's what the Born to Blog Club is, so don't start that one. But there's all kinds of blogs that you can start, all kinds of niches that you can start. You could start a blog about Smurfs if you wanted to. When you're trying to decide on a topic to blog about, it's a really good idea to choose something that you know you're going to be able to talk about for a minute. And I'm not talking about like a minute. I'm talking about a hot minute. Not something that you can talk about for 3 weeks, something that you could talk about for 3 years. That doesn't mean that you can't change topics, that you can't figure out your niche and expand on things, which is also why I always tell people start out with a personal blog, because you can talk about all your little brands and businesses underneath yourself as a person. But once you come up with something like RV Life and Arversity, then you can't talk about reselling or blogging business over there. Not that you can't mention it or that it won't cross promote each other. I'm just saying you wouldn't eat, sleep, and breathe anything other than RV Life over at Arversity, and that's the point of it. When you're trying to think about what do I want to blog about, what do I want my blog name to be, what niche is my thing, I want you to ask yourself a couple questions and think, what do people already ask me about? Like, what am I an expert at that I could teach people something or share my knowledge, my experience, my favorite tips, tools, resources? What's that thing that people always ask me about over anything else? Some people know me as that RV chick. Other people know me as the YouTuber. Some people call me a blogger, vlogger, influencer. Depending on where people find me, they attribute certain assets to me. If they find me on my blogging website, they assume, oh, she's a blogger and she knows how to blog. If they find me over on University, they assume I'm an RVer. I can teach them all about RV life. If they find me over at MBA Exchange, it's all about reselling. If they find me at Birdie's Doghouse, it's all about the dogs and dog blogging. You have to ask yourself, what is it that people always want to learn about? People ask me about rescuing animals, and I always want to teach that thing to people too. Speaking of which, that's another question. First question is, what do people already ask me about? The second question that you want to ask yourself is, what is something that I could publicly teach? And this might sound weird, but a lot of times when you're learning a thing, you tend to want to tell other people about it and teach other people about it. So think about like when you get a new car, you want to take it everywhere, you want to ride in it, you want to share it with people, you want to take pictures of it and put it on social media, and it's like your new baby. It's something that you always are talking about and doing. And I'm not saying talk about your car, I'm just saying for me it's the same thing. Like if I'm learning about blogging, I want to teach about blogging. If I'm learning about RV life, I want to teach people about my RV life. If I'm learning about rescuing a dog and all the things about the training and teaching them not to bark or use the bathroom in the house or whatever, I'm going to want to teach those things to people. That's just kind of what happens. So you think about, what can I learn and or teach publicly? The third question that you want to ask yourself is, what could eventually make money? This question is probably like a side piece, because you can make money doing anything. You can turn anything into money and income. Any blog, there's affiliates for it. There are sponsorships and paid ads and tips and donations and all kinds of ways that you can monetize that blog, no matter what niche you're in. But I do want you to ask yourself that third question, which is, what could eventually make money? If you put all those questions together and you say, okay, let me ask myself all these questions at one time. One is, what is something that people always ask me? Two is, what can I learn publicly? Three is, what of all those things that I'm thinking about in my head could actually make me money? Ask yourself those 3 questions. Pause this video, write them down, whatever you need to do. Comment below and let me know what is coming into your head, what questions you have. I've given you some examples of blogs. We talked about niches. Let's talk about names. When it comes to naming your blog and choosing a name for your blog, I don't want you to get hung up on this. There's all kinds of tools and resources out there, and you could technically change this if you really needed to later on, but this is also why I tell people just start blogging under your own name, your own personal blog, and then eventually if you think of some name, you could start another blog, a niche blog with that name, and you've already kind of like gone through the process and you've learned how to do it, so repeating it is easy. You don't even have to have a name for your blog to start your blog. So you don't have to pick out a name. You just start your blog, get your website set up, which I'm going to show you in the next episode. So make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and tap that little bell icon so you don't miss that episode. I'm going to show you how to set up your blog and your website without choosing a name. So don't get hung up on the name thing. If you need help deciding on a name, I would go to what I use are these free name generators. They're free business name generators. You can Google business name generator, free business name generator. I've got an entire blog post on my website with all the things that I'm telling you about these free blog name generators and how to find the perfect name for your blog and the ones that I use. Wix has one, Shopify has one, Namelix has one, business name generator has one, Hipster business name generator has one. Another way that you could get names for your blog or business is asking friends and family, which I don't always suggest. Maybe asking your audience. If you have people that are already out there, you could run a poll, a contest, and get people like a naming contest. You could have that, and you could do this on, say, like Fiverr.com. You could go and get people to give you a bunch of names. Another thing that you could do is head over to ChatGPT and tell them that you have a blog, you want to start a blog about travel, give you some names, or if you already have a name for a blog that you want to use, Black Sheep Blogger, then you can say, hey, give me a bunch of names about what to name my blog about black sheeps. So it'll generate a whole bunch of names for you. But I really just like to use the business name generators to help generate a name for your blog. And then I will plug and play. And I may not come up with a name that day. It might be something that I just kind of toy around. I write the ideas down. Let's talk about some tips for naming your blog. You're trying to come up with a name for your blog. I've got a couple of things that I go by when I'm choosing names for other people, even my own blogs. Keep it short and memorable. Make sure that it's easy to spell and say. You want to be descriptive. You want to use keywords, meaning if you're talking about coffee, don't name your blog bluemarkers.com. You'd want to name it Cups and Cappuccino or something like that. I like to keep it under 15 characters. That way I can secure the same social media handles as like my URL. Check that the domain name and social media handle are available. When I'm saying like www.blogandbrandy.com, I wanted to make sure that @blogandbrandy was available on social media as well as the domain. That's part of doing your research. So you want to make sure if you choose a domain, you want to have the same social media handles. It's not always available, and I get that, and you might have to use a variation, which I've put all kinds of tools and resources and tips on the Born to Blog Club. I talk about all that and doing your research and where to start. Always like to start with Google, see what comes up, see if somebody else is using that name, how they're using it. Maybe it'll give you another idea to use or a variation of it. Social media itself, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest. Check all the platforms and see if you can get that social media handle. You can literally go to the URL and / whatever social media handle you want, and you can find out if somebody's already using it. You can search the platforms, and it'll usually say like this page doesn't exist or this page isn't found if it doesn't exist yet. Or if you already have a social media account that you want to use, you could potentially go ahead and just change the handle. Just remember that anything that you've linked to up until this point is not gonna have the same link in your name. It might say like not found. They also have name checking services out there, so you can plug in your name and see what comes up, like namecheck.com or namechecker.com, but just go to business name checker or even business name generator. That will help you come up with some ideas. First thing that you need is a couple of ideas. If you already have these ideas, then you want to go do some research, see if people are using it, secure the domain. I use GoDaddy.com. I would highly suggest that you go to the link below this video. You can head over to my reseller platform and buy your domain, set up your website, which I talked about in the next video coming up. I'll get a little commission off that if you purchase that from me, but also if you set up your website and everything on the link that I give you, I can help you from the back end of your website. Say if you book a call with me or want to do an audit or get into a little deep dive and have me help you with your blog. That is the benefit of putting it on my platform and where all my clients go and put their blogs. Create an account, set up your blog, and then you can call me and I can help you out. A little side note that I just wanted to point out, or at least give you examples if you're like, okay, I just really need help coming up with a name. Think about how I named all my blogs. Like Arversity is RV plus university. So it's a RV university. Birdie's Doghouse, my dog's name is Birdie. It's a doghouse. I had it was like going to be Birdie's Doghouse and Co. And then I have some business stuff set up with them, and there's like a nonprofit. If you don't know that I have a nonprofit, I decided to give the cat his own blog, so I kind of separated these and came up with Catitude Chaos instead of like putting them in one blog, because after I started blogging about the cats and dogs on one blog at Birdie's Doghouse, I started figuring out that Google didn't like that a lot. Then I've decided to split them up, so that's why I have a dog blog and a cat blog. And then Fancy Financials, my money blog, it came to me and I kept using it, and then I noticed that I'm not gonna say people aren't using the name, because people are using that name. It's just nobody really has claimed the name. And I was able to get all the social media handles, and my website is actually, instead of fancyfinancials.com, it's actually fancyfinancials.co. And then Maps and Miles is my travel blog, and I don't know why that came up to me one day. I think I just came up with it, or maybe it was a business name generator. I actually have no idea. I don't really remember my travel blog, how I came up with that. And then Redirected Energy is something I came up with a long time ago before I ever started blogging, and I was like, oh, I want to redirect my energy, I want to be a blogger. It's my religious blog now, but that's not what it started out as. Then RVing for Bosses is just, again, a spinoff of my Arversity, and so I thought, okay, RVers that want to be their own boss or their own schedule, and that's where that came from. And then Blab Boss, Brand Like a Boss, stands for Blab Boss, or Blab Boss stands for Brand Like a Boss. It's my business and branding website. I have a book about it, and so that all just kind of like fed in. And really, if you actually go look up the book, it's How to Brand Like a Boss. So that's where that came from. I think I actually own the website How to Brand Like a Boss, and if you go there, it'll take you here or take you to my book. And then if you were to go to Ambay Exchange, this was one of my very first blogs, and the funny thing about it is that if you think about Ambay, it's like Amazon and eBay combined exchange. So it was just kind of like, oh, it's a marketplace where you have Amazon and eBay all in one place, and it's my reselling blog. Born to Blog Club, I wanted it to be something where I was like, oh, come join my club, join my community, join my thing. And so that's where the club part came. But Born to Blog, you put all these together, is still less than 15 characters, so I was able to get like the social media handles, and a lot of these are all the same thing. The Drops of B, it's my sober living blog, and it actually came from a blog post. I wrote one blog post on my personal blog about why I stopped drinking. It turned into something bigger than that, and as I was writing the blog post, I was like, oh my god, this could be a whole blog and website on its own. And so I turned The Drops of B, one blog post, into an entire website and blog and brand. I know it's a lot to take in, but I talk about all these different blogs. So I started out with one blog, Blog and Branding, and then got into all these little niche blogs. So this is like my lifestyle blog, Blog and Branding, and it branches out into all these. So that's why I say start a personal blog, and then you can go into all these others. I just want you to get in the mindset that you don't have to come up with everything yourself. So use the tools and resources that are out there, and then once you come up with a name, go through the steps that I'm telling you, which you can find all this on my website, borntoblogclub.com, as well as the checklist below this video. You can pick all this up, everything that I'm talking about, so you don't have to remember this. I know it's a lot at one time, but I've created everything that you need over at the Born to Blog Club. So we've talked about blogs, niches, names, and you should know what to blog about, what you want to blog about. You should have some ideas in your head right now, or if you've got ideas in your head, now you know where to go test those out, try those out, how to research them, and see what's available or all these things available before you decide on a name and actually secure the URL and get all the social media handles, or decide if you need to tweak what you already have. Even if you're stuck and you're still not sure what the next thing to do is, today's action that I want you to take is to write down your blog topic and 3 post ideas. Write down travel, blog, and then all the things that you want to write about travel. For me, I wanted to share the things that I packed, all the essentials, because I had some really cool gadgets that I took with me. But I also wanted to talk about the destinations that we went to, tips for staying safe in your hotel room, or how to get cheap flights and things like that. Those are ideas for my blog. Drop a comment below and let me know what is the blog topic that you're going to talk about. I want you to take action. That's the action I want you to take. That's it. Okay, you can go do research, you can do some other things, but the only thing I want you to do is to write down your blog topic, what you want to blog about, your name, blog post ideas. Write down 3. And remember, in order to build your blog and your website, which we're going to do tomorrow in the next episode, you do not have to have a name or even a niche or topic picked out. You can start a blog, build your website, and then figure that all out. So tomorrow, we build your blog, and it's going live. Get ready for day 3, which we're going to get into what to post about and how to post a blog post in a later episode. And if you've missed anything up until this point, any episodes of my 7-day Get Started Blogging Challenge, I made an entire playlist you can check out below this video. Also, if you haven't already, pick up the checklist that I've put together, and it'll tell you everything you need to do step by step. All the deets, borntoblogclub.com. Please, 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 if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and tap that little bell icon so you're notified each and every time that I post another video. Love you. I'll see you in the next episode tomorrow. Don't forget to drop your comments below this video and let me know what questions you have, and you might end up in the next one. I just realized that my microphone wasn't on, so hopefully the rest of this goes smooth. But don't worry, because your blog doesn't have to be perfect either, just like this video ain't perfect and blogging Brandy ain't perfect.